May 28th, Brendan Eich.
In any crisis, there's a high road called humility. Take it. The morning of April 3rd, 2014, tech media blogs and news websites were in a frenzy. Just 10 days earlier, Mozilla Corporation executives hand-selected Brendan Eich to be the CEO for the groundbreaking technology company he had co-founded 15 years before. Mozilla's mission statement emphasized the inclusion of all people, with a vision of a better internet derived from multiple cultures and contexts. Under Brendan's leadership, Mozilla had revolutionized the internet and gave us Firefox, the free and open-source web browser. But within a week or so, the internet Brendan had helped create turned on him. 6 years earlier, in alignment with his conservative biblical values, Brendan had made a small donation in support of traditional marriage. Within days of becoming Mozilla's CEO, this information began circulating the web. An online fury erupted, and many people suddenly accused him of having an anti-gay agenda. Brendan had listed Mozilla as his employer on a personal donation to a California petition known as Proposition 8, and this was misinterpreted as a corporate endorsement of his personal views. Because Proposition 8 proposed to limit the legal definition of marriage in California to a marriage between one man and one woman, this information seemed to put him immediately at odds with the culture of inclusion at Mozilla. Brendan said about the donation, "I agree with people who say it wasn't private, but it was personal." One of the CEO's employees even tweeted, "I'm an employee of Mozilla, and I cannot reconcile having Brendan Eich as CEO with our organization's culture and mission. Brendan, please step down." And her sentiment was retweeted across the web. Simultaneously, 3 of Mozilla's board members resigned for other reasons, and misinterpretations of this fueled public outrage. Clearly, it wasn't Brendan's best week in the business culture that he had spent decades cultivating. When Brendan was accused in interviews of bigotry, intolerance, or having an anti-gay agenda, he refused to take the bait, remaining humble rather than fanning the flames of controversy. He said, "I don't want to talk about my personal beliefs because I kept them out of Mozilla all these 15 years we've been going. I don't believe they're relevant." Brendan clarified the reasoning that he held about keeping his personal views out of the office. His definition of inclusive Mozilla culture did not require anyone to identify themselves in the workplace with a particular worldview or religion. He operated this way out of the hope that no one would become a cultural target or perhaps be seen as divisive. Ironically, the backlash over his personal views was now testing these very principles. Not every online voice turned against Brendan, however. Writers like John Howard, a free market enthusiast at humanevents.com, challenged the online riot in Brendan's defense. He wrote, "People who actually believe in tolerance and intellectual diversity have no difficulty understanding the deep sickness of declaring someone a non-person because he disagrees with them." On this varied backdrop of opinion, Mitchell Baker, Mozilla chairperson, made an announcement. He said, "Brendan Eich has chosen to step down from his role as CEO. He's made this decision for Mozilla and our community. Mozilla believes both in equality and freedom of speech. Equality is necessary for meaningful speech, and you need free speech to fight for equality. Figuring out how to stand for both at the same time can be hard." Brendan confirmed the news on his personal blog. He said, "I have decided to resign as CEO effective today and leave Mozilla. Our mission is bigger than any one of us, and under the present circumstances, I cannot be an effective leader." Roughly a year later, Brendan Eich, a humble man of principle, unveiled his development plan for the Brave internet browser, as if the angry online mob had never gathered. 1 Corinthians 4, verses 12 and 13 says, When we are cursed, we bless. When we are persecuted, we endure it. When we are slandered, we answer kindly. When others are offended because of your values, how do you respond? In any crisis, there's a high road called humility. Take it.
Hello, my name is George Morrison, and I pastored in the Denver metro area for some 40 years, and now we have a ministry called Truth and Life Ministry, where we travel around the world teaching leaders. Brendan Eich is our story today. You know, the Bible tells us that God gives gifts to men, and Brendan obviously had a gift. I would say that gift is in the area of technology and developing things in that arena. But you know, even though we have a gift and even though we're anointed to carry out that gift, along this path, this journey, I should say, we are misunderstood, or we can be misunderstood. The question I have for you today as a challenge: what do you do when you're misunderstood? When the things that you say are misinterpreted? You know, it's so hard to explain yourself. So what do? Well, I think we follow the example of Brendan. He took the high road. He took the high road of humility. And for the sake of the bigger picture, he was willing to lay down his own self and his right to be right. I think of Jesus in the book of Philippians chapter 2, when Jesus laid down his right to be right. I mean, he was totally innocent, and yet he went to the cross. He laid down that right to be right. So my challenge to you today is, can you lay down your right to be right? Can we follow the example of Brendan and maybe lay aside maybe our own lives and self for the sake of others and move on? So as we take up this challenge, I know God, by his grace, will help us to walk through any challenge of misunderstanding that we might come up against. God bless you. Thank you.